You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 382, a strong case for both personal and business bucket lists this summer. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Are you tired of getting to the end of the summer and wondering where did all the time go? Or maybe you're facing a seasonal shift in your life, like I just did when my 15-year-old son decided our family bucket list tradition was a little corny, and you're not sure how to make the most of your newfound time. Stick around because today I am making a strong case for why you need both a personal and business bucket list this summer. I'll share why this strategy works, how to create lists that actually support each other instead of competing for your attention, and how to turn those seasonal opportunities into real progress in both your life and business. Before we jump into today's conversation, I want to invite you to take my Next Level Business Owner quiz. What is more productive than taking a short 3-minute quiz to find out what is most holding you back from taking your business to the next level? So seriously, hit pause, go take this quiz, find out what's holding you back, and get a curated playlist of the past episodes. We are talking over 380 episodes, and I am going to provide you a personalized curated playlist of specific episodes that address your biggest pain points in your business. In those episodes, you will find actionable strategies that will have a big impact on your business. So head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. And now, let's get to the straight talk. So let me tell you about the last day of my son's 9th grade year, just a couple weeks ago. I was up early, drinking my coffee, and getting all sentimental about my 15-year-old's last day of 9th grade. You know how it is when you start realizing how fast they're growing up? Well, I decided I was going to ask ChatGPT to help me create a summer bucket list for Eric and I. Now, you have to understand, I have been doing summer and winter bucket lists with Eric since he was old enough to walk and talk. It's our tradition. It's our thing. But this year, I knew it probably wasn't going to land the same way it had in years past. So here's exactly what I asked ChatGPT. I've done a summer bucket list with my son since he was little. I know it's corny, but I want to do it for him this summer. But he's 15 years old. Any ideas for Las Vegas? And ChatGPT responded with, not corny at all. It's awesome that you've kept this tradition alive. A summer bucket list can be just as meaningful and fun at 15. It just needs to evolve with his interest in independence. I was so excited about the incredible ideas it gave me. I was like, yes, this summer bucket list is going to be like no others. But it's early in the morning, it's before finals, and it's his last day of school. So I made him breakfast, took him to school, and a few short hours later, I picked him up after his finals, and on the way home, I said, hey, buddy, so you know how we do those bucket lists each summer? I asked ChatGPT to help me, and it gave me some incredible ideas. I even asked ChatGPT if it was corny, and I handed him my phone as I was driving so that he could read the list. He read the list, or should I say skimmed the list, and handed it back to me and said, yeah, Mom, it's a little corny. So I asked, well, what is it that you want to do this summer? His response, I want to go to Wet n Wild 6 times, wrestling practice, but mostly just play video games with my friends. It took everything I had, like literally everything I had, not to break down in tears. In fact, just telling you this story again, I'm full on mom tear mode. Even though that kind of was what I was expecting, and he was respectful and joking about it being corny because that's what I said to ChatGPT, I knew that this year was going to be different. But here's what that moment taught me about being intentional with our time and making the most of the seasons we're in, even when they do not look like what we hoped they would. Now that the season of summer fun bucket list with my son has changed, I decided to switch my focus to creating both a personal and business summer bucket list. And I gotta be honest with you, this wasn't like a switch, like I'm still sitting in the car, we haven't made it home, and I'm like, yeah, how am I gonna flip this on its head and make it a positive? I had to do some processing and really think about, am I going to force this on him? Am I going to, have him keep enrolling him into this idea of a bucket list? Or am I just going to recognize what I already knew, which is the season has changed? And so as I gave it more and more thought, my solution was to look at the bucket list for what it was and how incredible it has actually served in my relationship and my life of having this tradition, and flip it on its head and actually do the same strategy for both personal and business this year. Just because he wasn't excited about our tradition anymore doesn't mean I should abandon the strategy entirely. I have countless incredible memories over the years because I used a bucket list approach. So today, I want to make a strong case for why you might want to create both a personal and business bucket list this summer, because the strategy works whether you're planning family adventures or business growth. Okay, so let's start with what is a bucket list actually, to make sure that we are all on the same page. Because I think some of you might be rolling your eyes right now thinking this is going to be some fluffy conversation about skydiving or meeting celebrities, or even worse, something morbid like making a list before you die. That is none of this. A bucket list is really just a collection of experiences, goals, and things you want to accomplish within a specific time frame. And yes, the name comes from the term kick the bucket, but I'm not trying to be morbid here. This is actually a really positive strategy. I think of it more as filling your bucket with meaningful stuff instead of just whatever happens to fall in it. Here's the thing though, bucket lists work because they force you to shift from reactive to proactive. Think about it. How much of your day do you spend just responding to whatever comes up? Your phone buzzes, you answer it. An email comes in, you deal with it. Someone needs something, you handle it. You're basically letting life happen to you instead of making things happen for you. So what makes a bucket list actually work? I'm glad you asked. There's many reasons why bucket lists work. Let's start with, they create clear focus. When you write something down as a bucket list item, you're not just daydreaming anymore. It's no longer floating around in your head as a someday thought. It becomes real. You've made a commitment to yourself. And here's something cool. Research shows you're 42% more likely to achieve goals when you write them down. There's actual science behind why this works. Next, they build momentum through small wins. Every time you check something off your bucket list, your brain releases dopamine, that feel-good chemical that motivates you to keep going. It's the same rush you get from completing any task. But bucket list items feel even more satisfying because they're things you actually choose to do. And then you have that they create a defined time frame. As you heard in my previous story that I opened up today's episode with, I often have time frames such as a summer bucket list or a winter holiday bucket list. Here's what I love about bucket lists. They can be short-term or long-term, but they do have a deadline. You can have them as summer bucket lists like I'm talking about today, or you can have yearly goals, or even a lifetime list of the things you want to do, the experiences you want to have. It creates urgency, and there is no more someday, maybe excuses. They help you figure out what actually matters. Creating a bucket list forces you to get honest about what you truly want versus what just sounds good when you're scrolling through social media. It's a decision-making process that helps you identify what's genuinely important to you. And lastly, they give your mind permission to problem solve. Here's something most people miss about bucket lists. Just taking the time to ask yourself, what do I actually want? Gives your brain something to work with. And once you get clear on what you want, your brain, your mind naturally starts figuring out how to make it happen. You'll start noticing opportunities and connections you completely missed before. Let's move on to why this works for both business and life. Look, the same principles that make personal bucket lists effective, they work just as well in your business. Personal bucket lists help you prioritize the relationships and experiences that matter, the stuff that usually gets pushed aside when business gets crazy. And business bucket lists help you focus on those growth opportunities and improvements that you know would move the needle forward, but somehow never make it off the back burner. Both lists do the same thing. They help you be intentional about where you're putting your time and energy instead of just reacting to whatever's demanding your attention today. And here's what I've discovered. When you approach both your personal life and business with the same level of intentionality, they actually start supporting each other instead of competing for your attention. So now that you understand why bucket lists work as a strategy for shifting from reactive to proactive, let's get specific about why your personal life deserves the same level of intentional planning. Most of us spend more time planning our next business move than we do planning quality time with our families. And that is backwards. If you don't intentionally plan for the experiences and relationships that matter to you, they won't happen. Your business will expand to fill every available hour and every bit of mental space if you let it. And I know that you know that this is true. Your personal life actually fuels your business. When you're consistently prioritizing meaningful personal experiences like date nights, adventures with your kids, time doing things you actually enjoy, you come back to your business with energy instead of running on fumes. And I can't say this enough. This isn't selfish. It is a smart business move. I'm going to say it one more time. This isn't selfish. It's a smart business move. Relationships don't just maintain themselves. The people who matter most, your spouse, your kids, your closest friends, they need intentional investments from you. Not your leftover time, not whatever energy you have left at the end of the day. They need real, planned, quality time. And I know that this may be hitting hard for some of you, but this is true. Businesses have the ability to squeeze out all time for the people and things that matter most to us. And so this episode is dedicated to sharing with you how important this is to be proactive and not reactive to creating the space. And one strategy to do that is what we're talking about today is the bucket list, and specifically a personal bucket list. A personal bucket list helps you plan experiences that actually strengthen these relationships instead of just hoping you'll find the time later. Because let's be realistic, we never just find the time. You truly need to create the time. Life seasons pass, whether you are paying attention or not. I shared with you, while choking up, how I am transitioning through a different season with my son being 15 years old. I know this is not the last season, and I have already, like many of you, been through many, many other seasons. But life is going to continue to pass you by while you're grinding it out in your business, while your head is down. Kids grow up fast, parents age, friendships change. These seasons are going to pass whether you are present for them or buried in your work. A personal bucket list helps you show up for what matters instead of looking back with regret. You know, and I know, that you are more than your business. I know that it is so easy to define yourself by your professional achievements. Trust me, I get it. But you are a whole person with interests and dreams that exist outside of your business. And personal bucket list experiences remind you of that. So let's dive into what a personal bucket list actually looks like. Your personal bucket list does not need to be expensive or elaborate, and it certainly doesn't need to take up all your mental bandwidth to create it. Take a tip from me. Go to ChatGPT, go to Claude, go to AI, and tell them that you are looking to create a summer bucket list, that you are looking to create a bucket list for this year, and have it ask you questions of what your interests are so that you can get a customized bucket list and you have now collaborated with AI. Or maybe you've kept a someday maybe list floating around in your journal or emails or magazine clippings. Go grab those and start making your bucket list. They can be simple things like a regular date night or weekend getaway, trying a new restaurant in your city, planning special experiences with your kids. I live in Vegas, and some of the experiences that we have done in previous summer bucket lists are playing tourists on the Las Vegas Strip and doing the things that are for kids, like the fountains and the M&M store and taking them to museums. We just stayed in town, but we did the things that we didn't normally do on a regular weekend or during a regular time when life was busier. You could learn something new just because it's fun. You could learn a new hobby. You could learn to speak another language. You can choose to purposely reconnect with old friends. You can get that house project done that you've wanted to do. You can start an art project, a craft project. You can also do something a little more elaborate, like take a big trip that you have been wanting to do forever. The key, actually putting these on your list and then scheduling them. Not just hoping they'll happen, but making them happen. I'm going to give you some of my own examples of how I actually do our winter bucket list because there's so many moving parts. There's so many things that I love to have on our bucket list. They have turned into traditions for the family, but there's a lot of schedules, right? My brother-in-law, sister-in-law, the kids' schedules, holiday schedules, work company parties that we have to account for. And really all we're talking about is the 4 weeks between really Thanksgiving to Christmas, where we're trying to create all these experiences. So I make a list, and some years, I've done previous episodes about this, some years the list is more extensive than others. I find out where my capacity is, whether it's work or it's health or energy or other things that are going on. And I make a realistic list of what it is that I want to create with experiences. So over the years, it's making candy with my best friend who likes to bake, and we both give it out to our neighbors. That is something we enjoy doing, but it's also something that my best friend and I have learned to look forward to as time in the kitchen, hours a day of creating candy. I take the kids ice skating, and that is my own anti-mom thing. I used to ice skate as a kid. The kids love to ice skate. None of the adults like to ice skate. So every year I take all the kids ice skating. When it was younger, we would take my son to, meet Santa Claus. We have evolved as the kids have gotten older. And now we do a family game night. So think of all the, yes, I'm going to say it again, all the corny family games that you see on the internet. And then each family, so I invite friends and their kids, and then my sister-in-law and their kids. And so each family is responsible for bringing 2 to 3 corny games and all the supplies to do it. The experience on the bucket list here is that I plan for a night in my home. I get together with everyone's schedules ahead of time. And it's not about the games. It's about creating the tradition. It's about creating the experience. And I will tell you what, it is work. It does take purposely showing up and planning. But I put it on the bucket list so I ensure that it happens. Because between buying gifts and holiday parties for work and the extra chores around, wrapping the gifts and decorating for the holidays, this could easily get squeezed out. But it is my favorite thing that happens each holiday. And so what I do is I get the calendar out and I write my whole bucket list, and I'm collaborating with my son up until this year. Have always collaborated with my son and my husband. We create the list, and then I start literally planning it out on the calendar. Okay, what day can we go ice skating? What day are we hosting the family game night at the house? What days am I going to do holiday light, drive-bys, etc.? Because if it's not planned out, I guarantee you'll get all the way to the holiday chasing your tail. So those are just some of the examples of how I have done, not just strategically, but things that I've included in my bucket list. And I just want to wrap up this section to say, I create it as an experience to write the bucket list, to enroll the family and ask them, what do they want to do? What do they not want to do? So that everybody gets something in there that they really want to do. And I'm not just trying to create a bucket list to create a bucket list. So we have refined it over the years to be just our favorite things. Then I take that list and I actually schedule it in on my calendar. And then I start making the text messages and the phone calls and the invites. And then it's just about experiencing and enjoying the plan in a very specific time frame, which is generally between Thanksgiving and Christmas for us. While your personal relationships absolutely deserve intentional planning, your business growth deserves the same approach. Here's why you might want to apply bucket list thinking to your professional life too. Now we're going to flip the conversation and talk about a business bucket list. Before we jump in, I want to ask you, what happens when you find yourself with extra time? Are you being proactive? Are you feeling it with things that matter most to you in the business that have the biggest impact? For many of you, life can give you extra time, but you're wasting it. It could be a canceled meeting, or a client project ends early, or perhaps you find that your kids' activities have slowed down or they're in off season. You have finished that big launch. Whatever it is, you finally have some breathing room. What do you do with that time? If you're like many business owners, you probably, unfortunately, are just filling it up with busy work. Or worse, you might be just scrolling through social media. And I've got to tell you, that is time that you will never get back. Right now, I have found that I have newfound time this summer. So not only is my son not really gung-ho about this summer bucket list, but I have reclaimed 2 hours a day in commute time. Yes, when my son goes to school, and I know we're in countdown for him driving, but right now when he is at school, I spend 2 hours in the car with commute to and from. So for me, I have just been able to extend my workday by 2 hours. These seasonal shifts happen to all of us. And I got to tell you, if I wasn't super clear and proactive about what and how I was going to use those additional 2 hours, this summer could have come and gone, and the time would have ran right through my fingers. So if you find yourself in a seasonal shift, or with newfound time and breathing room. The question is, are you ready for that time? Or are you just letting it slip through your fingers? A business bucket list helps you capture those opportunities instead of wondering where the time went. And that is exactly what I did. I thought, oh my gosh, what could I do with 2 extra hours a day in the business that I didn't think that we had the capacity for? And that is how I created my summer business bucket list. I want to just dive into, why does a business bucket list matter and how is it helpful? A business bucket list helps you think beyond your daily tasks. Your daily task list is about keeping the lights on. Your business bucket list is about moving the needle, creating meaningful experiences, and pursuing accomplishments that matter to you professionally. It's where you put those bigger goals, relationship building experiences, and professional dreams that would actually grow your business and fulfill you as a business owner. But they seem to never feel urgent enough to tackle. They turn slow seasons into growth seasons. Instead of panicking when things slow down or feeling guilty when you have extra time, you can see these periods as opportunities to invest in your business. I actually did an entire episode about this concept. It's episode 346, Your Hit List When Business Slows. If you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend you go back and listen to it. It is a hit list that many of my clients have actually used and have had great experience with. Taking the opportunity when it comes to you. If you find yourself in a slow season while nobody wants to be there, how can you make the most of it and invest in assets that give you an ROI in the business? Next, having a bucket list prevents shiny object syndrome. When you suddenly have extra time or energy, it's tempting to chase whatever new idea sounds exciting. But a business bucket list keeps you focused on the improvements and opportunities that actually matter to your business. And then lastly, they create momentum during good times. When business is busy, it's hard to think strategically. But when you have a business bucket list, you can use any breathing room to work on your business instead of just in it. So let's talk about, what are some things that will go on a business bucket list. Here's the thing. Your business bucket list isn't just about tasks and projects. It's about creating meaningful experiences and pursuing accomplishments that move your business forward. Your business bucket list might include things such as system and growth projects. That process that you've been meaning to document. Finally, organizing your digital files and folders. How about creating a course or service that you've been thinking about for some time? Updating your website or marketing materials. That is what showed up on my business bucket list this summer, is a complete marketing pivot, refresh, along with a website refresh. Streamlining your client onboarding process. Those are just a few ideas around systems and growth projects. But you could also have things like business experiences and relationships, like planning a team retreat for your staff, hosting a client appreciation event, sending vendors and industry partners thank you gifts, networking at conferences that you've always wanted to attend. And then lastly, the other area that I wanted to highlight was professional accomplishments. How about pitching to speak at a dream conference? Getting featured in a professional magazine that you've read for years? Applying for that industry award? Or writing guest articles for publications that you admire? The key is being just as intentional about creating time for these business bucket list items as you are with your personal ones. Don't wait for time to magically appear. Schedule it. Block it on your calendar. Protect it like you would any other important appointment. I just shared a little bit about what we're doing this summer in the business, so I just want to give you some more ideas. We are already in the middle of integrating AI in many areas of the business. And so this summer's bucket list is taking AI to a whole new level and creating a complete suite of 12 tools that I use for my private coaching clients that use AI to level up the experience and the results that my clients are getting, as well as doing a marketing. At first, it was called an overhaul, but really realized that it is more like a pivot in my marketing, my messaging, and thus the branding, both in copy and visual branding of the company. Those are my big 2 bucket list items this summer, and I'm super excited about them. So, I hope these practical starting points help you see the value in both types of bucket lists. The question is now, how do you actually implement these without overwhelming your already busy life? And I have some strategies for you. So at this point, I'm assuming that I have convinced you that both personal and business bucket lists make sense. They make sense for you, they make sense for your business. But now what? How do you actually create these lists without them competing against each other or overwhelming your already busy life? Here's the secret. Your personal and business bucket lists should work together, not against each other. So I want you to start first. The very first step is getting honest about what season of life and business you're actually in right now. Not where you think you should be, not where you were last year, but where you are today. You heard me talk about that when I was sharing with you my winter bucket list that does look different from year to year because of the season I'm in. And this is the first step to ensuring that bucket lists work for you as well. I want you to think about, are your kids in a busy sports season, or is it a quieter time? This last winter was the first winter season that my son wrestled. He wrestled in high school, which happens to be smack in the middle of winter season. Our capacity as a family was way limited. We were spending 12, 10, 8-hour days, multiple days over the weekend, and multiple evenings at wrestling tournaments. So that definitely affected what our bucket list capacity was for last winter. So, what is your capacity? Are you currently in a business growth mode, or are you in a maintenance phase? Are you personally feeling energized or depleted? Your bucket list needs to match your reality, not some fantasy version of your life. Next, think integration, not separation. Instead of thinking personal time and business time as completely separate buckets, look for ways that they can support each other. For example, family experiences that also serve your business, like taking your family to an industry conference when possible. Back in 2017, as you know, I live in Las Vegas, but in 2017, I was attending Podcast Movement, and that was in Florida. And 4 days later, I was speaking in Florida, not just in Florida, but not just at the same town, at the same hotel. I had a speaking event. And so I was going to be gone for close to 2 weeks. So I took that as an opportunity, and I had my boys fly out at the tail end of Podcast Conference, which was great. They came a day early. They were able to meet some of my podcast friends and colleagues. They got to see a little bit about the conference. And then the next day, we went on a cruise. We went on a cruise to the Bahamas. It was a short few-day cruise, came back to the same hotel, settled in, and they left, and I went on to my speaking engagement. That was a wonderful way of me looking for opportunities. In 2017, my son was 7. It was going to be a long time away from the family that I was not accustomed to and not something that I particularly wanted. And so I saw it as a great opportunity to integrate our summer vacation schedule into what could have looked like as a negative in the business and flipped it on its head. Next, another idea is planning work vacations where you can mix business and networking with family time. So a little bit of a flip or an extension of what I just shared with you. And think about including your family in business celebrations and milestones. I have had events that I was invited to, like awards events here locally, and I wanted my husband to attend. But I didn't just look at it as like, oh, my husband's attending an awards event. I thought, how can we make this a great date night? We already needed to find a sitter. We already needed to coordinate our schedules. So instead of making it something we had to do, or rather something he had to do, which is attend a work event, it was something that we got to do by adding on really quality time and making it a full date night. Business activities that enrich your personal life, like hosting client events that you genuinely enjoy. So, I am getting ready to host my own event in Bend, Oregon in August with a few of my private coaching clients. They are the same clients that attended my end of the year business planning event here in Las Vegas. So they came to Las Vegas in November of 2024. We spent 2 days together and we planned their entire year in 2 days. Well, the ladies that attended loved that event so much and they built such great relationships. They asked to do it again mid-year. And so we are creating an event. We're doing 4 days in Bend, Oregon. We're going to go tubing down the river. We are going to potentially take some yoga classes, go on some walks. We're going to rent a cabana. But most importantly is we are doing something that I really enjoy. I got to create an entire agenda of things that I have wanted to do or things that I want to do that I thought they would enjoy. We're going to be mixing work and planning along with connection, collaboration, and a lot of relaxation. So for me, that was literally checking off things off my bucket list. I have always wanted to do a river float. Check, check. Learning skills for your business that also interest you personally. I can't tell you how many times this is true. And this is true right now. So when I say that we are working on integrating AI in so many different areas and leveraging that technology in the business, I knew nothing about AI in October of 2024. I remember being at an event with Luann Nagara, and she was talking to me how she was using AI. Those of you that don't know Luann Nagara, she is a dear friend. She's a client, and we share a lot of mutual clients and business relationships. Well, I was attending this event with her, and she was going to town telling me about how amazing AI has been for her and her business. And I'm like, what? Okay. I really think this is a skill set that would interest me personally because I love tech, but also would help the business. And so that is exactly what I've done. I have delved into learning AI, and it's not just been a professional benefit and bucket list item. It's a personal bucket list item of really understanding how AI can impact our lives. As you heard again in the example that I shared earlier, I was literally drinking coffee in my bed, being sentimental, teary-eyed, and the first thing I thought of was to go to ChatGPT and ask it to help me create a summer bucket list. Those skill sets that I have learned in the business have also impacted my personal life on so many levels. I have so many examples, and I might share some more in some future episodes, but that's a great example of learning skills for your business that also interest you personally. And then also building business relationships that could become personal friendships. So I have met some incredible friends over the years at different conferences. And in fact, one of them is my dear best friend who we have been friends with. We have been friends since 2016. We met at a conference, and we talk all the time, but we also take summer trips together. So last year we did an entire road trip up the entire coast of California. And then other years she's come to Vegas where we stayed in a hotel and a staycation. And this year I'm going where she's at in Montana and doing a staycation where she lives so she can show me around Montana. All of those experiences happened because I was thinking, if I have to be at this conference, if I am going to learn something at this conference, I also want to build friendships. I want to build relationships. And the biggest gifts have come out of those. So I share all of this to tell you, look for opportunities that are all around you. When I met my friend Courtney, I actually had gone to this particular podcast movement conference with the clear intention of making friends. Yes, I knew I was going to learn things. Yes, I knew that it was going to help my business. But whatever season of life I was at, that was my bucket list item. I was so clear. And because of that, I seeked out opportunities that I would have otherwise let pass me by, including seeing her across the room. It's a funny story, seeing her across the room in a bar at a networking event. And I remember looking at her and thinking, I think we could be friends. She looks like someone I would be friends with. And I beelined over and introduced myself. And so the joke goes is that I picked her up at a bar and we have now since been fast friends all these years. But it all rooted with intention. It rooted with clarity about what I wanted from that conference, my bucket list item. It was rooted with having so much clarity around that I was seeking out opportunities to check those bucket list items off of my list. And I think you can do the same. I think that if you find yourself using this bucket list strategy and having the clarity around claiming and identifying what it is you want, you are going to seize opportunities that are already all around you. Next, keep it simple and realistic. Don't try to create the perfect, comprehensive bucket list right out of the gate. Start small. For your personal bucket list, pick 3 to 5 experiences or relationships that you want to prioritize this season. Include a mix of simple, regular date nights and more involved family vacation items. Make sure that at least half of them are doable within the next 3 months. And for your business bucket list, choose 2 to 3 growth projects, experiences, or accomplishments to focus on. And include at least one that you could tackle within the next month. I want you to get that dopamine hit. I want you to get that win. Make them simple. Make them realistic. And I also want you to balance behind the scenes work, like working on your business projects, as I am doing this summer, with relationship building experiences. I think a little bit of both on your bucket list is probably a recipe for success. And then to really pull this all together and be most successful, and this is also where most people fail, is that you create the list and you never create the time to do anything about the list. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to treat your bucket list items as a priority. And I want you to create appointments with yourself and honor them as you would appointments with other people. I want you to schedule personal experiences like business meetings. I want you to be that purposeful with them. You wouldn't just not show up to a client meeting. And I want you to schedule these personal experiences with that same commitment level. Your business bucket list projects get calendared just the same as client work. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. When you approach both your personal life and business with the same level of intentionality, you'll start to see how they can actually fuel each other instead of competing for your attention. When you take this balanced approach to bucket lists, something amazing happens. Instead of feeling pulled in different directions, you start to see how your personal and business life can actually support each other. And look, when I was thinking of creating this episode, this is exactly what I was thinking, so I get it. I get that you might be thinking adding another thing to your already full schedule might feel overwhelming. But here's what I have learned. Bucket lists aren't about adding more to your life. They're about being intentional with the life you already have. We've talked about how bucket lists work for us as strategy to shift from reactive to proactive. We've covered why your personal relationships deserve the same level of planning as you give your business goals. We've explored how business bucket lists can help you turn seasonal opportunities into growth seasons. And we've also discussed how to build balanced lists that work together instead of competing against each other. Whether your kids want to create an elaborate summer adventure with you, or, like my son, just hit the water park 6 times, yes, he was that specific, and play video games, that's okay. The point isn't perfection. The point is being present and intentional during whatever season you're in. The bucket list strategy has given me countless memories with Eric over the years. And now it's helping me be just as intentional about my business growth and my own personal experiences. Your lists don't have to be elaborate or expensive. They just need to be yours. And they do need to actually get on your schedule and protected on your calendar. Because at the end of the summer, you'll either look back and wonder, where did the time go? Or you'll have the memories and progress to show for it. The beautiful thing about bucket lists is that they work whether you're a 5-year-old excited about every adventure, or a 15-year-old just wanting to hang with friends, or a busy business owner trying to make the most of every season. The strategy adapts to whatever phase of life you're in. I have loved having you listen to this episode of the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. And I sure hope you found the conversation about bucket lists to be valuable and inspiring you to take action. I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So, what is the Take Action Challenge today? Set some time aside. Get quiet. Get creative. Make that summer bucket list. Write it on the back of a napkin, write it in your journal, email it to yourself. I don't care how you do it. Pick 3 to 5 things to do, experiences to create, relationships that you want to focus on, and set some intention about this summer season. And then do it again and again as different seasons come and go. You can do a long-term one, but for today, my only request is that you take what I shared with you and you try it out. Go experiment with a summer bucket list and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear. So if you'd like to connect with me on Instagram, it's Amber_De La Garza. I would love to hear what is on your summer bucket list. And if you are thinking of hiring a business coach as one of your summer bucket list items, joking, but not joking, now is the time to talk. If you want to find out what working together might look like and how that will benefit you and your business, then we should talk. Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/coaching to learn more and book a discovery call today. And if you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure you hit subscribe and don't miss another episode. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation about bucket lists and you have a business friend that you think would find it valuable, go ahead and share this episode with them and invite them to take a listen. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.